Welcome to your weekend review here on WINN FM 98.9 for the period June 9th through 14th. Making the news last week, St. Kitts and Nevis observes Environment Month with renewed commitment to sustainability. St. Kitts and Nevis reaffirms ocean commitment at 3rd United Nations Ocean Conference. St. Kitts and Nevis advances digital transformation with 6 strategic pillars.
Co-authors Tunisia Wyatt and Darren Connor bring a touch of St. Kitts and Nevis to the Young Caribbean Minds, Volume 2.
ECCB Governor Antoine urges IT specialists to put cybersecurity fundamentals first at regional conference. Governor Antoine provides comprehensive updates on Eastern Caribbean CBI regional regulator progress. Now, the details. June marks Environment Month in St. Kitts and Nevis, a time when the Department of Environment spearheads activities under the theme Empowering Change for a Sustainable Future. This year's celebration comes at a critical juncture as the Federation embraces crucial environmental legislation and encourages community engagement toward lasting ecological protection. Senior Environment Officer Dr. Elric Francis and Environment Officer Shavern Gardner in a recent episode of In Focus outlined both the significance of this environmental observance and practical steps citizens can take to safeguard the island's natural resources. Their insights emphasized the pressing need to address key challenges such as illegal dumping and sand mining while nurturing community awareness and behavioral change. In introducing one of the month's hallmark activities, Gardner described a creative staff event.
The Department of Environment, we have an annual month of activity that we host every year. And what we saw was one of the activities we would have had during the month Environment Day. We're celebrating Environment Day on the 5th of June. And what we had was a competition, a modeling competition, where we were to express some environmental issues and the way we can combat it through a fashion show.
This staff-driven fashion showcase highlighted environmental themes including recycling and the reduction of single-use plastics, reinforcing the department's message with youthful energy and creativity. Speaking to the ongoing necessity for World Environment Day and the accompanying Environment Month activities,
I would say World Environment Day, it was initially put in place so that we could observe that day and reflect on our environment, our environmental issues, and basically to raise awareness. And awareness, even though there have been an increase in environmental awareness, public awareness fades without consistency. So I think that the day is necessary to also reinforce public awareness and to build momentum, to keep up momentum. They can also be used to get persons or citizens involved. They can also be used for, say, the government to push green initiative.
He stressed the importance of sustained efforts to cultivate behavioral change over time, underscoring the crucial role Environment Month plays in this ongoing process. Dr. Francis elaborated on the ethos behind this year's theme.
What people need to understand, when you hear the word environment, you need to know that the environment is everything around us. And so when you look at your environment, you have to ask yourself, am I satisfied with how it looks, or can it be improved? And so you have to always think about improving. You have to always think about making things better.
He linked this perspective to recent policy shifts, particularly the new legislation aimed at curbing single-use plastic pollution, explaining the importance of embracing change to protect the island's ecosystems.
One way to fix that is to change from single-use plastic to reusables. And that is how that theme was chosen.
On June 5th, to mark World Environment Day, the department partnered with the Man and the Biosphere Reserve, MAB, an NGO supported by UNESCO, for the Green Valley Environment Day Expo in the Keon area. Gardner described the event as pivotal for public education around the single-use plastic ban.
We came together and put on, like you said, a sensitization or an expo where we went into the Keon area, and we did some sensitization on the plastic ban. And during this sensitization, we basically informed persons, updated persons on the plastic ban, informed them on the necessities, give them the details, We make sure that they are complying with the plastic bans. We listen to any issues that they might have had, so we can find ways to resolve it if it's in our capacity.
The initiative aimed to prepare the community for Phase 2 of the Plastic Reduction Plan, which involves banning styrofoam food containers, egg crates, and plastic straws by the end of July. Dr. Francis added that these community engagements not only spread awareness, but also gathered valuable feedback to refine the approach.
What we found during these stakeholder consultations is that a lot of people are actually positive, and they for most of the items, the only item we have any pushback on was the plastic straws. But for the most part, most people, they have no issues with the t-shirt bag. They have no issues with the styrofoam crate.
He further highlighted the environmental necessity driving the ban.
This is a small island state. This is a small country. And we know that refuge, the average household produces kilograms and kilograms of refuge daily. And so where is all of this going to go if we are not thinking and acting and behaving sustainably?
Both officers underscored the health implications of plastic pollution during the broadcast.
One of the benefits deals with health benefit. And as time goes by, we with more research, we keep finding, yes, they don't break down the plastic. It simply breaks down into a smaller particle, which we probably don't have the capacity to see right now.
Plastic breaks down into microscopic particles that are found everywhere, posing future health risks to the Federation. Dr. Francis further cautioned about the everyday misuse of plastic.
Plastic contains hormonal disruptors. And so when you have a lot of people, they're saying, well, why is there so much cancers going on? And they don't understand that it could be that the food, just the container that you're consuming your food in, a lot of it is not made for consumption. Matter of fact, if you look at the packaging, a lot of people don't read the packaging, read the bottom of the package where it says, do not microwave. Because there's a reason why they tell you do not microwave, and it's not just for the integrity of the container. It's because the chemicals will leach out of the plastic into your food. You ingest that food, and now it messes up your insides.
The peer emphasized the need for public education on safely using plastics, with particular warnings against heating styrofoam containers in microwaves. Beyond awareness and legislation, the Department of Environment has planned other significant activities this month to engage the public and foster a direct connection with nature. Gardner detailed 2 events hosted by the Forest Ranger Unit, a Ranger Restoration Day on June 19th and a Forest Dash on June 25th. These events aim to highlight forest conservation efforts and attract participants who are physically active and environmentally conscious. The Restoration Day focuses on tree planting in areas affected by environmental stresses, while the Forest Dash is a competitive run through military trails to promote awareness of biodiversity protection and sustainable forest management. Prizes promoting sustainability will encourage participation in this highly anticipated event. Addressing the need for reforestation, Dr. Francis explained.
That situation is multifaceted. For example, we have just the natural climate that would damage the trees. We have natural disasters that will damage the trees. And unfortunately, we also have the human agents that would destroy the trees.
He highlighted the biological importance of forests in providing oxygen and maintaining biodiversity, noting concerns over the visible loss of forest cover seen in satellite imagery and the implications this has for national and international environmental commitments. The department's efforts also extend to educating communities beyond the more urban Bastyr area.
We have community walkthrough sensitizations. And so we go out into the community in several communities, because it's not just Bastyr where people are. So you have to go out where people work, you have to go out where people live, and you have to engage the public. and to get their feedback.
This grassroots approach identifies misconceptions about plastic use and informs the public about safer practices, such as avoiding the use of microwavable plastic containers. As Environment Month 2025 unfolds, the Department of Environment demonstrates a robust commitment to integrating community participation, education, legislation, and conservation activities into a coordinated effort to make St. Kitts and Nevis a truly sustainable island state where empowered citizens actively contribute to safeguarding their environment for present and future generations. The full schedule of Environment Month activities is available online, inviting all residents and stakeholders to join in advancing this urgent and empowering environmental agenda. At the recent Third United Nations Ocean Conference held in Nice, France, the Honorable Dr. Joel Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment and Climate Action, stood firmly on behalf of the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis to deliver the Federation's national statement. Her speech laid bare the urgent need for global concerted efforts to protect the world's oceans, highlighting three pivotal priorities: scaling up ocean finance, advancing ocean science and research, and strengthening global ocean governance frameworks. Minister Clark positioned St. Kitts and Nevis not only as a nation deeply connected to the ocean's well-being, but also as an active participant in international cooperative frameworks aimed at safeguarding the blue planet. At the fifth plenary meeting of the conference, she echoed the voices of fellow small island developing states SIDS, highlighting the essential need for targeted multilateral action on ocean governance to secure sustainable futures. The Federation has notably advanced several crucial initiatives in recent years. St. Kitts and Nevis has signed on to the Ocean Coordination Mechanism, a milestone in uniting Caribbean nations toward integrated ocean governance. The nation has also aligned itself with the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States (OECS) political declaration aimed at boosting biodiversity conservation through the Actioning Blue 30 by 30 Caribbean Vision and Roadmap for the Ocean. Most impressively, the Federation recently became a signatory to the Landmark Agreement on Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction (BBNJ), signaling a commitment to marine protection beyond territorial waters. These significant strides are primarily attributed to the ongoing work of the Department of Marine Resources, whose dedication to the sustainable management of the nation's waters demonstrates how local stewardship underpins global environmental responsibilities. Minister Clark also extended heartfelt thanks to the UNESCO Man and the Biosphere Program and the PROMAR project for their impactful awareness-raising campaigns and community-based conservation initiatives, emphasizing the vital role of grassroots action alongside national and international policy. In her address, Minister Clark expressed,
"For small island developing states like St. Kitts and Nevis, the ocean is our birthplace, lifeline, and sustenance. It is our greatest asset, yet it faces the greatest risk and most urgent risk associated with unmitigated increases in greenhouse gas emissions."
She framed the global dialogue around three fundamental priorities:
ambitious commitments on ocean finance, promoting ocean science, and the establishment of global ocean governance structures.
Minister Clark issued a sobering warning.
Should we fail to accomplish even one of these priorities, then we would have failed over 2 billion coastal residents who need and deserve our resolute action in addressing the crises they face daily: sea level rise due to a warming planet, biodiversity loss, and the increase in marine plastic pollution.
A candid reflection on the SIDS predicament followed as she detailed,
"Admittedly, the SIDS experience is not self-inflicted. Our survival, sadly, largely depends on the actions of others, but we still aim for progress and want to do so collaboratively." Reaffirming
their alignment with global alliances, she declared St. Kitts and Nevis' support for the calls by the Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, advocating for
science-based policy for our oceans which complements existing platforms, upscaling nature-based solutions in marine ecosystems, urgent ratification of the BBNJ agreement, and the urgent conclusion of the Plastic Pollution Treaty.
She passionately articulated the critical demand for legal reforms.
Sea level rise must be urgently addressed through international law that is interpreted and enacted to ensure the protection of those disproportionately affected, so that in addition to maintaining nationhood and sovereignty, we can prevent the extinction of vulnerable coastal states and ensure that our people equally and adequately enjoy the right to exist.
The minister underscored the necessity that
special circumstances of SIDS must be honored, advanced and operationalized in a rejuvenated multilateral space designed for our survivability.
Minister Clark did not shy away from the shortfalls of global finance mechanisms, pointing out that
the global climate finance neither reaches the scale nor the people it needs to, and is insufficient in protecting local communities in ways that are direct, predictable, and empowering.
She emphasized the need for practical on-the-ground solutions.
Ocean sustainability calls for targeted solution building, localizing ocean climate finance, building local autonomy, and providing upscaled community-led coordination.
Describing the Caribbean's standing, she remarked,
"The Caribbean does not enjoy the luxury of sitting idly by for shifting geopolitical tides. In St. Kitts and Nevis, the climate crisis is not an abstraction. Its relentless threats and volatility are lived daily."
The minister closed her remarks by outlining her vision and actions.
Our ambition and intent are clear: to transform the smallest nation in the Western Hemisphere into a sustainable island state by 2040. For this, we have committed with the wider Caribbean, from the Abbas to the Bridgestone Initiative, embracing the Action in Blue 30 by 30 Caribbean vision and the global launch of the Ocean Coordination Mechanism.
She further recounted recent regulatory progress at home.
Locally, we recently banned single-use plastic shopping bags, plastic straws and utensils, and styrofoam containers, and passed with the unanimous support of our Parliament the Plastic Waste Prohibition and Reduction Bill 2025.
Minister Clark paid tribute to ongoing academic and community partnerships, saying,
"Partnership with local academic institutions like the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, which, with the launch of their PROMA project in partnership with IUCN, Prevention of Marine Litter in the Caribbean Sea. We support and applaud the work of NGOs and institutions like the St. Mary's Man and the Biosphere Reserve, with their uniquely crafted community-led project, sensitization and the elimination of single-use plastics."
With a call to action, she concluded,
"The crises we face require a multi-stakeholder approach to solutions. Everyone must be included. The ocean climate crisis will not be solved solely in plenary rooms and meeting spaces, but on the ground, with NGOs working in fishing villages to clean the coast and rebuild after hurricanes, by the women and youth leaders who ceaselessly advocate for continued private-public partnership and a thriving multilateral space. Let us act now and let us act together."
The Department of Information and Communication Technology, ICT, is spearheading a comprehensive rollout of 6 strategic pillars that are transforming government operations and citizen engagement across the Federation. These pillars include the development of a national digital identity, establishment of an internet exchange point, capacity building programs, the Digital Service Network, DSN, digital civil registry applications, and the expansion of e-government services. Collectively, these initiatives are designed to modernize how the government interacts with the public and businesses while supporting the nation's broader sustainable island state agenda. Nigel Carty, head of the Digital Transformation Management Unit, outlined the essential purpose of this transformation.
So, digital transformation is really the application of digital technologies, computing technology, to really fundamentally change the way in which the government functions, the way in which the government serves the public, and to also ensure that the government is able to adapt to the changing circumstances. As an example, you'd understand that with respect to the political environment, people are demanding access to information. Well, you can only make information accessible if it's at your fingertips. So digital transformation the Digital Transformation Management Unit really is focusing on how we can upscale the implementation of digital technologies.
Carty added that while the implementation of digital technology across government is not new, significant efforts are underway to scale these initiatives radically, integrating cybersecurity and a data and information management framework to protect government assets as they move online. A key advancement in bolstering ICT infrastructure has been the launch of the St. Kitts and Nevis Internet Exchange Point, SKNIX, as explained by Ophelia Blanchard, coordinator of e-government.
You would have heard a presentation by the CEO of the cable, Ms. Pat Walters, and one of the things she highlighted was the Internet Exchange Point, what we call the SKNIX. This is significant. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis would have made significant investment in this project. And this is also to boost our ICT infrastructure resilience. We are happy that we now have a number of partners, including the cable, City Wi-Fi, and other organizations such as Architects, Packet Clearing House, Magnet Solutions, who have joined and signed on board, and we are constantly engaging other service providers.
She emphasized the importance of SKNIX in localizing internet traffic and services.
This is important because it helps us to build that local internet that we would need to ensure resilience. When we look at sending emails, and we have to send an email to the Honorable Minister, he goes overseas and come back. Now looking at the internet infrastructure exchange point, we can now have things local. So whether it be local financial transactions, education services, and other content which the cable and other service providers are currently working on, we can have that localized.
She further highlighted ongoing collaboration across ministries and the private sector as vital to building a robust internet society. Urta Shiverton, Assistant Coordinator in the Department of Technology, provided insights into government network improvements critical to supporting the digital transformation ecosystem.
One of the other projects that we're working on is the upgrade of the government network, which we call the GWAN, the Government Wide Area Network. One of the things we are doing as a result is that we have launched a project to work on the upgrade of the whole structure to have the domain names systems upgraded throughout all government. What that is going to do is support the work that Mr. Carty is doing in terms of the digital transformation, because we need a strong, safe, and reliable network that is secure to launch all of these services.
Shiverton noted that a system-wide audit was completed to assess current systems and recommend necessary security enhancements and upgrades across government departments to support digital services. Central to the modernization of citizen services is the Electronic Civil Registry System, ECRS project.
This is a project where we are trying to digitalize our civil registry system. So our registry of births, deaths, marriages, divorces, adoption, etc., we are digitalizing that, which means we're going to be making our services available online. So persons can make application and pay for those applications online. And this facilitates our citizens wherever they are.
Carty shared a personal example highlighting traditional inefficiencies.
Just recently, for example, I was assisting a cousin of mine in applying for a passport, and they had to do all of these things. And they actually had to come here and do some other things running around themselves, right? But we are doing that.
He also emphasized the government's vision for a new secure digital ID card.
We are developing an entire electronic identification system that needs to connect to the ECRS as well as to the National Security, Citizen and Immigration System to be able to draw the information to authenticate one's identity. Let me briefly explain. Right now we have a national ID card. That's useful, but there are some limitations to that. When you walk into a bank and they ask for that, they have to do a visual inspection. Of course, once there's need for visual inspection, human visual inspection, then you know there's a loophole. So if we can get a card with a chip that is secure, that carries data, so that when you go to a bank, you slip it into a card reader, It interfaces with our EID system and verifies the identity of the person carrying the card. That is what we're trying to achieve.
The privacy and security of personal data remains a top priority as these systems evolve.
We highly value the privacy and security of the data that is captured. And so another part of this project is to do a full assessment, engagement. We are doing stakeholder engagement. There have been several stakeholder engagement, and there will continue to be several stakeholder engagement because it is important that we get the views of every stakeholder, every key stakeholder involved in this process.
Blanchard added that the strong partnership with the International Telecommunications Union, which is assisting with policy reviews and legislation to ensure a robust and secure framework for the digital identity system. Shiverton explained the benefits that the new system offer in terms of integration.
Let's consider, for instance, that someone wants to go to Inland Revenue and they want to upgrade, they want to do their licensing. Currently, we know they have the e-services. If someone is new to the system, we are saying that, okay, we want you to be able to have this card that you can use, but you don't have to do it by physically going to the Inland Revenue Department. If you have this ID card, you can upgrade your license system, let's say overseas, or you can, because Inland Revenue can now be assured that the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Joe, is Mr. Joe indeed, right? And that he's not Mr. James, right? Because he can now be identified not just physically.
She continued to elaborate on the broader interoperable ecosystem.
So the whole system integrates. Now, you can get your license system, yes, from Inland Revenue, but you can also pay and also have this system interlinked with the banks. So the banks can now verify that you are the person who you say you are. So it's not just within government, it's also outside of government. So all of this comes into play. The Ministry of National Security, Inland Revenue, even social services, everything interlinks.
Addressing public concerns about data accessibility and interagency communication, Carty indicated,
it is really understanding the data standards that we need to operate. So currently, government ministries operate in silos. There are some government departments that are fairly advanced, like the Inland Revenue Department, that have their own systems. You may have, say, the Department of Planning having their own systems. Those are siloed. And then there are government ministries that don't really have any system in place or not very advanced technologically. Part of the work that we're doing is developing data and information management standards. That is, how do we develop those systems in a way that makes them interoperable? How do we make sure that there's compatibility across those systems? And then taking care of cybersecurity and other kinds of issues.
He outlined a planned interoperability framework that will securely interconnect government systems to enable swift and secure information exchange, also allowing for public interaction with government services via the cloud. Recognizing societal challenges in adapting to new technologies, Shiverton highlighted process reengineering efforts aimed at increasing security and usability.
One of the systems that we are looking at, and the Honorable Prime Minister has already pushed that along, in that the Ministry of Health is looking at doing a health information system and improving their health information system. Through the DTMU and the Department of Technology, we are also helping them along on that part, because everyone wants to ensure that their health information would not be accessed by persons who are not duly authorized to have that. So those are some of the things we are trying to concretize and get out there, but that requires some process engineering. So it's not just to use the same old processes, right? So there's going to be some process engineering to say, what do we need to make sure that this process becomes even more secure?
She clarified that government systems would remain separately managed, but interconnected via a secure interoperability layer that prevents unauthorized access, offering strong protection against malicious actors. Minister of ICT et al. The Honorable Connors Maynard emphasized the transformative potential of this approach.
Because we have developed in silos, because information has been developed in this place and that place, they don't all reside in one place now. And so when we build an interoperability layer, what will happen is you turn up for a particular service, say in the bank, you want to start an account. Because you present yourself, you give the bank the permissions that the bank, the limited permissions that the bank may have, which might be to access your address where you live. It might be to access the information from your birth certificate or your police certificate. So when you present yourself, that system will then only talk to the areas where it needs to talk. That is how the system is meant to develop, so that no one place or one person will have access to all of the information. And this was especially very telling when we, Mr. Honorable Nigel Cartier and myself and members of the team, when we visited Estonia and we had a look at their model, and we saw how they actually also started with development of their silos, which led to the creation of a system called X-Roads, which allowed them to communicate with each of these departments without having to go back and individually rebuild those departments. And then finally, what I will say on this is what this all does is really increase the ease of doing business. This is for a citizen or a business person to do business easily. So you show up at your, maybe personally for your passport or online. You're not then required to go to the post office to buy stamps, to go to the health center to get your birth certificate, to go to the police station to get your police certificate. What did I say for the health center? Your birth certificate and the police station for your police record. All of that is intended to be eliminated. You present yourself and that system will call upon wherever. It will do the walking for you. It will do the trotting for you. It will go and capture the information for you so that you have one point of contact.
He recounted lessons from Estonia, a global digital leader, where such interconnected systems drastically reduce bureaucratic hurdles.
We want to be the Estonia of the Caribbean. We want to be the new frontier of digital transformation. I want to thank the team for the extraordinary work that they do, especially behind the scenes. This is not something that you will see and feel immediately. And sometimes you may wonder what is being done, but they're working extraordinarily hard.
The digital transformation led by the ICT department, marked by well-defined pillars and a coordinated strategic approach, signals a remarkable shift for St. Kitts and Nevis. Grounded in enhanced security, interagency interoperability, and citizen-centric service delivery, this ongoing evolution is poised to improve efficiency and accessibility while driving the Federation closer to its sustainable island state aspirations.
Two young people from St. Kitts and Nevis, Tunisia Wyatt and Darren Connor, were instrumental in the publication of a UNICEF activity book. The book, Young Caribbean Minds, Volume 2, co-authored by 42 young people from across 23 countries in the Caribbean region, targets children aged 9 and above, focusing primarily on climate change and mental health. The launch of the activity book was held on May 30, 2025 in Barbados at a youth mental health symposium. The book is regarded as a significant mental health resource designed to educate Caribbean youth on the links between climate change, natural disasters, and mental health. Young Caribbean Minds Volume 2 comprises art, drawing, coloring, tracing, and other child-friendly activities designed to help children navigate or cope with climate-related stress and develop resilience. Page 27 of the book features Wyatt and Connor's contribution. The duo focused on a coloring activity of a coastline setting, adding a brief but encouraging note and instructions. It reads, quote, "We like taking walks along the coast in St. Kitts and Nevis. Looking at the beautiful waters and doing breathing exercises helps us feel better when we are sad. Color the picture below, then take a slow breath in as you visualize being on the coastline. Exhale gently and imagine the waves washing your worries away." Unquote. Tunisia Connor was engaged in an advocacy meeting with the Minister of Education, Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, Permanent Secretary Mrs. Lisa Pistana, and other education officials to gather their perspectives and ideas on how to support children and youth's mental health and well-being. That engagement was preceded by a capacity-building webinar for the Climate Change, Natural Disasters, Mental Health and Advocacy Project. The project armed participants with the tools and knowledge to help other young people process emotional stress and environmental concerns. It is anticipated that the book will serve as a practical tool for schools, families, and community groups.
The call for robust cyber defenses and regional teamwork echoed through the ECCB campus as Governor Timothy N.J. Antoine opened the 30th annual conference of the Regional Central Bank's Information Systems Specialists held from June 4th to 6th. Speaking under the conference theme Beyond Borders, Collaboration, Innovation, and Resilience in Central Banking IT, Governor Antoine placed the mission-critical nature of cybersecurity at the very heart of his remarks, commending the commitment shown by IT system specialists in safeguarding the region's financial system.
Colleagues, what's the number one asset of a central bank?
Reputation.
I hear people, I hear reputation. They're all very important assets, but the number one asset, what is that? It depends, information, it depends on where you look and from whence you look, your vantage point. The number one asset of a central bank is trust. Trust. T-R-U-S-T, trust. Now, if I'm sitting inside a central bank, I will say the number one asset would be people. But when you think about what we do globally, when you look at the macro level, when you look at how our work touches and concerns every sector of society and every strata of society and people at all levels, the number one asset of a central bank is trust.
Emphasizing the primacy of public confidence for the sector's stability. Addressing a gathering of specialists from the ECCB and the central banks of Aruba, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Curacao, Haiti, Jamaica, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago, Governor Antoine urged his colleagues not to be distracted by the latest technological trends at the expense of tried and true basics.
Number one, we have to get the basics right. This might sound trite, this might sound obvious, but I'm told that 80% of all attacks are against known threats. Known threats. So before we get to the unknowns, make sure we have the border secure when it comes to the known threats. That's fundamental. That means, colleagues, we have to protect critical infrastructure.
Governor Antoine outlined the critical role played by central bank IT teams in protecting payment systems, data repositories, and key frameworks essential to the operation of monetary policy and economic advice. Acknowledgement was also given to resource constraints faced across the region, urging that investment remain concentrated on
the fundamentals to protect our critical infrastructure and to make sure we get the basics right. In other words, sometimes a good Toyota Corolla will get you there if you can't afford a Cadillac or a Lamborghini.
A further pillar of his message focused on strong cyber hygiene. Governor Antoine highlighted the importance of building a strong culture across institutions, explaining that
our people, our staff, are the first line in defense to protect our system. But also, very often, the data show the weakest line of our defense. And therefore, we have to continually build a strong culture of cyber hygiene across our central banks.
The session also shone light on the scale of the global cyber security threat. The governor presented sobering figures.
Over the last decade, cybercrime has more than tripled from around, according to Cyber Security Ventures, $3 trillion in 2014 to $9.5 trillion in 2024 last year. And at the current pace, cybersecurity, the cost of cybersecurity, cybercrime to the global economy is expected to exceed $10.5 trillion this year. Now, when we speak about the costs of cybercrime, we're speaking about things like stolen data, financial theft, reputational risk, regulatory fines, business disruption. All of those things count in the cost. $10.5 trillion estimated this year. But what is more, if cybercrime were an economy, check this out. If cybercrime were an economy, it would be ranked number 3 in the world. It would be the 3rd largest economy in the world, only behind the United States of America and China. Wow. 3rd largest economy, cybercrime. In fact, cybercrime is more lucrative than the illicit drug trade or narcotics trade.
As IT specialists and leaders, the call was clear: stay vigilant, keep systems resilient, and focus relentlessly on protecting the trust the public places in the central banks.
Your work and what you do touches and concerns macroeconomic stability, smooth payment systems functioning, monetary policy, financial stability, but also, very important, trust, which I've established is our most important asset.
Governor Timothy N.J. Antwine of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, delivered an extensive update on the progress towards establishing a regional regulator for citizenship by investment programs in the 5 Eastern Caribbean Currency Union countries that offer these programs. Speaking at the St. Kitts and Nevis Investment Gateway Summit on June 3rd at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort, Governor Antwine emphasized the importance of political support. He detailed several key milestones achieved in this historic regional effort. He highlighted that the ECCB was explicitly chosen to lead the effort because of its
deep regulatory experience and expertise, and our stellar track record as a regional regulator.
He noted the robust nature of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, one of only 4 formal monetary unions globally, which includes 8 countries, 5 of which implement the CBI programs. Governor Antwine underscored the significance of the stable Eastern Caribbean dollar, which has been pegged to the US dollar for nearly 5 decades, thereby maintaining a low inflation and enabling the free repatriation of profits for investors without foreign exchange controls.
And for investors, this is a wonderful benefit that we must never take for granted, but that we want to leverage to ensure that we bring additional investors to our countries.
He further illustrated the economic contributions of CBI programs, listing infrastructure improvements such as roads in St. Kitts and Nevis and an international airport under construction in Dominica that are principally funded by CBI. According to Governor Antwine,
at least 2 of our member countries rely on CBI programs for at least 50% of their revenues,
underlining the vital role these programs play in economic and social resilience. Outlining the core objectives of the proposed regional regulator, Governor Antwine explained that the framework would operate under a single uniform law across the 5 participating countries. This approach aims to minimize regulatory arbitrage and unfair competition while promoting transparency and consistent standards. The regulator will license all market participants, monitor and enforce compliance, and engage stakeholders locally and internationally. Notably, the governor clarified that the regulator will be
a separate legal entity from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank,
reiterating that while the ECCB leads the setup, it will not manage the regulator's operations. An interim regulatory commission, IRC, comprising representatives from the 5 countries, the OECS Commission, CARICOM Impacts, and the ECCB, is currently overseeing the preparation of the regulatory framework. On the timeline, he reported extensive consultations had taken place with governments, opposition parties, local agents, developers, financial intelligence units, banks, and international partners from the US, UK, and EU.
We are now in a position to submit, as we have done, our draft legal framework.
Governor Antwine confirmed, adding that the draft was under review with prime ministers and that a post-draft consultation would be launched shortly, giving stakeholders time to review and comment.
We've done that. The plan is to share it with you this month finalize it July, end of July and early August to make a final submission. That's our plan. And then our governments will have between then and the end of this year, December 2025, to enact this legislation into law.
The governor emphasized that political will is paramount.
Without that support, this is dead on arrival. So that is essential.
Other critical success factors include regulatory independence, accountability, transparency through annual compliance reports, enforcement authority, effective risk management, and ongoing stakeholder engagement. Governor Antoine also spoke of an advisory body designed to provide continuous market feedback without allowing regulatory capture, ensuring the regulators remain independent while being responsive to industry dynamics. Governor Antoine reflected on the challenges and opportunities of the Caribbean region, stating,
"We cannot change our history, nor can we change our geography. We live where we live. Slavery and colonialism are realities we cannot escape. That's our history. The fact that we are some of the most climate resilient, climate vulnerable countries in the world, that is our geography. It is what it is. We cannot change that. But we can accelerate and elevate our development trajectory through innovation, which is what CBI was in 1984 when St. Kitts and Nevis pioneered this program, and others have since joined, and collective action, which is what we're doing together now as we set up this regional regulator. I believe we can and will succeed if we come together and we stay together.
You are listening to the Week in Review here on WINN FM 98.9. Thank you for listening and have a productive week.